Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Sama, and today we are going to be talking about the books that I read in July and August. Yeah, let's just get right into it. The first book that I read was Beach Read. So last summer I read People We Meet on Vacation, and I hated it. Like, it put me in such a big slump, and it was the book that made me like consider never reading romance again. So I was like, fuck this, I'm never reading Emily Henry ever again. But then this year a couple of my friends were like talking about books, and like 3 or 4 of them said that this is one of their, like, they really like this book and they have good taste. So I was like, okay, 3 or 4 people saying it's good, okay, people that I trust, I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I picked this up and I ended up liking it much more than People We Meet on Vacation. Beach Read follows the story of January Andrews, I think is her last name. Yeah. She is a romance author. The story follows her like having just moved into her dad's lake house, something like that, after he dies, and having to like take care of the place while also trying to meet her deadline for this book. And when she's there, she ends up becoming neighbors with her college rival, who is another author, but he writes like literary fiction, so they're kind of like at odds. She thinks he doesn't respect her as a romance author and stuff like that, and they're both like in this creative rut, so they decide to help each other out, and they make a deal that like he writes a romance book and she writes literary fiction, and the best one like gets to publish their book or something like that. And then every week they like go on interviews and like dates as like research for one another, and the story picks up from there. It also follows like their own trauma between the two. It's cute, but like it's not like fluffy, you know. There is like angst, there is like family trauma. My question is, why does every romance book have to have at least one dead parent? Are people with 2 happy, healthy, and very much alive parents not allowed to fall in love? Can we just like get one book without the family trauma? Like, that would be great, thank you. Anyway, I gave this 4 stars. I liked it, and honestly I might pick up Book Lovers and read that too. I've seen a lot of people say books written like for the older sister in the family, so I was like, hello, that's me. So I might pick that one up, see how it is. And then I'm definitely gonna pick up her new book that's coming out in February, Happy Place or something like that, because it has fake dating, and that is literally my favorite fucking trope ever. To all the boys I've loved before, like, revolutionary, probably one of my top 10 books ever. So I read like every fake dating ever. Next, I listened to the audiobook of It's Not Summer Without You, the second book in the Summer I Turned Pretty series. This was like a reread for me, but it was also the first time I've listened to an audiobook. I didn't enjoy it that much. I don't know, it just doesn't feel like I'm reading, because technically you're not, and you really have to focus, because I like daydream a lot when I'm listening to podcasts or music. So I like tune out, and you can't really do that with an audiobook. But it was like a nice experience. I decided to reread it because I had just finished watching the Summer I Turned Pretty TV series, and I was fucking obsessed, guys. Like for a week straight I made like 40 TikToks a day about it, and I like only thought about that all day long. It was so bad, I could barely sleep because I wanted to rewatch it. It was so bad. So I like wanted to reread the books, and I forgot how bad they are. I like the first one, but the second one, like, not much happens. Like, and usually I'm someone who's like, I loves a book where nothing really happens. Not this one. So I don't know if I'll pick up the third one or not, but something else I read in July is 3 books by one of my new favorite authors ever. The first one is Shatter Me by Tawhid Mafi. This series is obviously very big. I initially wasn't gonna pick it up because the cover is ugly and YA fantasy isn't really my thing, so I wasn't gonna pick this up. But then I found out that the author is Iranian, and I'm obviously gonna support every Iranian creative ever, so I I picked up like the first 3 books, and I'm really enjoying it. I really like this one. I give it 3 stars just because the series is so long, and this was very much like an intro into the world and stuff, but I liked it. The writing is really easy to follow. The characters are interesting. I like the idea of like everybody having different powers and stuff. Reading this book, I was like, why is Warner so low? I was like genuinely shocked. But then I read the Destroy Me novella, and although after this book I still didn't agree, I could like start to see it. I'm like, okay, like I can see his character developing into something that people would like. So yeah, I don't have much to say about the Destroy Me novella, but it is fun getting the other characters' perspectives. And then the last book that I read in July was a 5-star read. One of my favorite fucking books ever is This Woven Kingdom, also by Taher Mafi. This book is basically based off of Persian mythology, and it follows Alize, who is like this servant, but she's also a jinn, and she's like the long lost heir to the jinn kingdom, but that kingdom has kind of like fallen apart, and all the jinn are separated and not a strong force, so they kind of like hide out within like just the regular humans, and serve as like servants and stuff, and she's a servant. And then the other main character is Kamran, the love of my life. Like literally, him and Peter Kavinsky are my book boyfriends. Sorry that there's like nothing else I can say. They're mine. Kamran is the love of my life. Anyway, I'm getting off track. He's the other main character. Obviously there's like a little romance going on there, but mostly the story is just about her like trying to survive without getting found out. But then there's also like these prophecies that go on about like the jinn heir coming and destroying, basically, I forget what their kingdom is called, but coming and destroying like the human kingdom. So Kamran has to, like, they're basically enemies, so he has to try and like get rid of that threat. So yeah, it follows that story. Now that I'm thinking about it, not a lot really happens in this book. It is a trilogy, so I think this one was mostly like setting up the world, but I fucking loved it, guys. Let me read you my favorite quote ever. So this is from when they first meet. You want to know what Kamran says about her? Like, this destroyed me. I couldn't pick up the book for like a week after I read this, because every time I did I was like giggling, squealing. Okay, so they meet, and this is what he thinks about her. He doesn't say it out loud, but he thinks that her features were both precise and soft, balanced in every quadrant as if by a master. Are you ready? Are you ready? She was finely designed, loveliness rendered in its truest sense. I kid you not, I like jaw on the floor, goosebumps all over my body. This is the best line I've ever fucking read. And if my future man doesn't think I'm finely designed, loveliness rendered in its truest sense, I do not want him. Yeah, Kamran is my book boyfriend. He is my #1. The fact that he's Persian, like that. Anyway, this is my official announcement that I am interested in the role of Alize if Taher ever decides to make this into a movie. I am Iranian, so like I feel like I have that going for me. I haven't been in any professional productions, but I was in Oompa Loompa in the 6th grade play of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, so I have that going for me as well. And yeah, 5 stars. I cannot fucking wait for the next book. I want an arc so bad. Although what happens at the end is stressing me out. I'm not gonna give spoilers, but I'm scared to see where the next book goes. Knowing Taher's track record, no. Okay, the next book I read was Funny You Should Ask. I read this as an ebook and I'm really glad I did. I was gonna buy it because the cover is really pretty and I thought I would really like it, but I didn't. I don't remember what I rated it, but it was like 3 or 2.5, something like that. I just didn't like this book that much. So it's basically about a journalist who interviews this up-and-coming actor and spent the weekend with him and gets like photographed, and everybody's all obviously like curious, like what happened, like why was she hanging out with this hotshot actor for the entire weekend, and they want to know what happened. So that interview that they have like goes viral, but then they don't speak for like 10 years, and then again 10 years later, after he's kind of like fallen off and he's about to be in a new movie, his like team asks for them to have this interview again, like try and recreate this interview and get people interested again, and basically the story like flips back and forth between the present and the past, weekends and what happens. And I don't know, first of all, I don't really like the like jumping time chapters, because I find that at some points like I cared about what was at the beginning of the book. I only wanted to know what happened in the past, you know, like did they sleep together or what happened, and then in the end I just wanted to know what's happening in present, you know, like are they gonna get together or whatever. And yeah, I found that they didn't have much chemistry in my opinion. I don't know. I like the bromance between the actor and his friend, I forget what his name is, Oliver, something like that. That was like more interesting than them. And I also found I really liked there was like these single lines throughout that talked about the passage of time, how you can like really stay in the moment that meant so much to you, very much like a Right Where You Left Me by Taylor Swift kind of thing, which I really enjoyed. I think this would have been much better as like a literary fiction book than as a romance book. Yeah, and then there was like this third act, not even a third act breakup, it was like a stupid breakup like 5 pages before the end that was so unnecessary. Like it made me mad. Didn't like it. Okay, the next book I read was Ninth House. Look at this fucking cover, guys. This is like one of my favorite covers ever. I'm still not sure what to rate this book, and basically it's about this girl, Alex Stern, who goes to Yale and is part of like this secret society of, what do you even call it? Basically they have to like monitor the secret societies, the group that she's part of, because they do like kind of questionable things, like the secret society, it's like fantasy too. I don't even know how to fucking explain it. It's like dark academia meets fantasy, and the secret societies like do weird things. Like one of them, they experiment a lot on the body, so they like steal corpses from like the morgue or whatever and work on them and then put them back, and it's like the ethics of that. So like what she's part of is monitoring the groups and making sure they don't do anything too stupid, and then a murder happens, so it kind of turns into a murder mystery of like who killed this person, because she thinks the societies have something to do with it. So it follows that. I liked it, but it was just there was just something that was a little off, you know. I don't know. I do want to read the second one, although the cover scares me, so I don't know if I'm gonna buy it. Darlington was my favorite character though, and we technically never even met him. So that was sad. The whole time I was waiting for him to come back, but anyways. What did I read next? Next I read La Pomona, which, not to brag guys, but my cover's fine. I found out Ottessa Moshfegh is also like, I think half Iranian, which is so crazy. Like, why do I keep finding Iranian authors, guys? It's like, it makes me very happy. I love my Iranian girlies and supporting them. This book was fucking weird though. Basically, it's about this like medieval village, and it touches on like religion and abuse, and there's this lord that basically is keeping the villagers down by having bandits come and attack the village every time there's signs of an uproar. But a lot of weird things happen in this book. Because of that, I thought it was gonna be really hard to read at first, but I think after the first like 50-ish pages or so, once you like realize what kind of things happen and like accept the fact that you are gonna get shocked by the things that keep happening, it becomes pretty easy like to digest. Like it's written in a way that's easy to keep reading, so I read it pretty quickly. I don't know, I really don't know how I feel about it though. It's definitely a book I think I need to reread. I don't know how I feel about this one, guys. The next book I read, I have been reading this for like 5 fucking months, guys. The Goldfinch. I finally finished it. I started in April and finished it in August. And the reason it took me so long, it's not that it's bad, it's just a lot, and it follows the story of Theo Decker from when he was 13 to like, and then I think he's like 28 or something. What happens is his mom died in an accident while he's at the museum, and things happen. I don't want to give it away. He makes some choices that continue to haunt him for the rest of his life. He meets some people. As an adult, he gets caught up in not so safe business. And yeah, I mean, it's fucking Donna Tartt. I love her. The way she writes makes me remember like why I love literature so much. Her books really are for people who just enjoy words and art, and like books that touch a little bit on philosophy, that have like their characters like philosophize a little bit, not too much. I feel like she's like a good intro into more philosophical fiction, maybe. I don't know, I haven't read any of that, but in my mind that's how it is. And although this was really hard to get through and it took me forever, by the end of it I was just like so obsessed with Theo, and all I could think about was him and his life and his choices. And as soon as I finished it, I wanted to reread it. Like, I'm already thinking about when I'm gonna reread this, and like I want to sit down and like actually annotate it, because when I first started reading I annotated it, but that was taking too long and it's almost 800 pages. So I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna first just like sit down and read it and see what the story is about, and then next time I can annotate it. So if you love The Secret History, not for the plot but for the way that Donna writes, I think you'll like this too. She's one of my favorite authors, so like it's definitely, I don't know if it's a 5-star for me, maybe it's a 5-star, I don't know, it's definitely 4.5 at least. The next book I read was Unravel Me, the second like full book of the Shatter Me series. This is why I can't like really talk about series, is because I start to kind of like blend what happens in them together. But this one's more about, by the end of the first, I don't want to like give it away in case you haven't read it, but what happens in the end of the first book, this is just like a continuation of it. It's about her like getting to know her power a little more, about the society that they're living in, and I think it starts to touch on the romance a little bit more, the love triangle. I don't think that's a spoiler, because I think if you've heard anything about Shatter Me, you know there's a love triangle, ish. Yeah, I mean, I liked it. Kenji is my favorite character. I need more of him. Like, I honestly don't care about anybody else but Kenji. He's the love of my life. I didn't really give this an official rating. I find a hard time rating series because I feel like, I don't know, like you need one to know the other. So I don't know if it's fair to rate them before I've read them all. I don't know, we'll see. And then I read the second novella in the series, Fracture Me. This is from Adam's perspective, and I found it quite boring. Yeah, I literally have nothing to say about this one. He's kind of boring to me. Yeah. Next, I read this is a 5-star read that I had in August. I read Pachinko. Oh my fucking god, guys. This book follows a Korean immigrant family in Japan from the 1930s to from 1910 to about 1989, and it follows like their story as immigrants in Japan, as Korean immigrants in Japan at a time when Koreans were treated very poorly by Japanese people, and it follows like 4 generations of their family, I think, as they just like try and survive. It was really fucking beautiful. I already know I want to reread this, and I want to spend like hours annotating it because it was so beautiful. Like, I think it actually has my most annotated first page ever. Look at that. I don't know if you can see, but I had chills. And actually, I feel like this is one of those books that like really reminded me of why I love reading, because as soon as you pick it up, you're just like absorbed into the world. Like, it's like when I'm reading, when my eyes are locked on the page, I'm not sitting in my bedroom, but I'm literally like walking through the streets with the characters. I'm so into it, and I really want to spend more time with this one character, Noah. He is Sunja's, is it Sunja's older? Yes, yeah, Sunja's, sometimes I get like the order of the family mixed up because there's so many characters. But he's Sunja's oldest son, and I find, as an oldest sibling, I find like stories about the oldest sibling really interesting, and I'm always like really fascinated by their characters and the way that they act, and his is a very, very sad story, so I want to spend more time with him and like really dig deep into his character a little bit. I really don't have the words, but if you read any book out of the ones that I've shown you, this has to be it. 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 And then the final book in my August month is 100 Other Girls by Iman Hariri Kia. So I've been interested in this book for a couple months now because I saw the author like promoting it on TikTok like back in like January maybe, and she basically said it's like The Devil Wears Prada but with more diversity. And I mean, this book gives you exactly what it says it'll give you. It literally is like like Loretta James. I imagined Meryl Streep in my mind as the editor-in-chief because it almost feels, it's like almost exactly like The Devil Wears Prada. But yeah, that's why I got into it. But I didn't realize that the main character is Iranian American and that the author is Iranian American. Guys, the scream I let out when I found this out, I was so happy. I love reading Iranian authors. But yeah, I really liked it. I loved the incorporation of like Iranian culture into the book, and there's a lot of diversity in this book. Like, I love that characters could just like be gay without it like being a big part of the plot. Like their sexuality was just their sexuality, which was very cool. I feel like you don't see that much in media still. I feel like sexuality and sometimes even like ethnicity is still like a political statement almost in books. Like, that's part of the message. But this, like, characters were so diverse and every single one of them was so flawed. Although it is like a lighthearted, funny, contemporary fiction book, I think there's a lot in here that can be said about society right now. And what I found was really interesting was like this constant divide between like being Gen Z and like taking part in popular culture while also trying to be politically correct. Like, there's this one part where I think one of the characters is like making like some big points about, I can't remember what it was about, but something like political or social issue right now, and then it goes while she continues to scroll on TikTok. And I feel like there's stuff like that that's just so true about society right now. With that being said, this book probably has the most pop culture references I have ever heard. You know, from the fact that she works at a culture / fashion magazine that covers like recent current pop culture events, to also like characters being like, the character is 22 in 2019, so like obviously I think it portrays the way that some people think very well. But like 3 or 4 pop culture references on every page. For the most part, I was okay with it because like from the get-go that was how the characters acted. But there were a couple that just like were too much even for me. Like, on one page I think the main character says "anayu," and that one I didn't like that one. But yeah, It's lighthearted, it's fun, it's exactly what it says it's gonna be, you know, like it's not revolutionary in any way because nobody claimed for it to be. And yeah, those are all the books that I read in July and August. It was a pretty good end to my summer reading. I'm so upset that school's starting now. I'm gonna have way less time to read. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys read this month, if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them, or if you have any recommendations. I am currently on a book buying ban because like I own like 26 books that I haven't read yet, so I need to like get on that. But once I break that ban, I might be looking to buy some new books. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.